Alright guys, hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel and if you enjoyed this video. So, Deontay Wilder's quite comical, because, he goes around saying, critiquing AJ and Jarrell Miller and saying, this fight between AJ and Jarrell Miller ain't gonna do too good because ain't nobody know who AJ is and ain't nobody know who Jarrell Miller is. And they're gonna be fighting in the US, so it's gonna be a fight that ain't nobody gonna watch, ain't nobody gonna support because ain't nobody know who these guys are, right? So, but it's like, that's kind of funny, dude, because it's like, bro, ain't nobody knew who 90% of your fights were against. Like 90% of the guys that Deontay Wilder fought, me as an American boxing fan, I didn't know. These guys weren't big names like that. You get what I'm saying? These guys weren't big names like that, and that explains why Deontay Wilder doesn't have a big fan base in America, because he wasn't going out there fighting the guys that are fighting the heavyweights that are known worldwide. Like, I don't know, Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, for example, when he fought Tavern wasn't a massive. He didn't have this massive fan base. Tavern was the reason people gave Wilder credit for Tavern, because that was just looked at as his best opponent. You get what I'm saying? Like, up to that point, he was fighting such, shit quality opponents that people were just happy that he was fighting Tavern, because that guy was like perceived as the best dude that he ever fought. And obviously, he had just won the vacant belt against Chris Arreola, right? But that was the main reason people were talking about the Tavern fight. It was because that was looked at for Deontay Wilder as finally he's stepping up. That was his step up fight, right? And obviously, he managed to grab a belt at the same time. But Tavern wasn't this massively known guy like that. And then he fights Eric Molina. Listen, I'm an American. I never heard of Eric Molina. When that fight happened, I had to Google Eric Molina. I didn't know who this man was. Okay? I didn't even know he fought Chris Arreola and got knocked out in 30 seconds against Chris Arreola. I had no idea who this guy was, because this guy was fighting guys like Rafael Sambano. He was fighting nothing but bums prior to fighting Deontay Wilder. So, no one knew who Eric Molina was, homie. Then he fights Johan Duhaupas. Nobody knew. No one in the United States knew who Johan Duhaupas was. Johan Duhaupas is a guy who's from France, right? He's fought guys that I never heard of. If you look at his resume, right? Again, Johan Duhaupas is another guy that I had to Google. When I first heard that fight was happening, I went on Google and I put Johan Duhaupas and I put his box rec to see who the hell this guy is, because I never heard of him. Okay? So, Americans, when that fight happened, Deontay Wilder in the United States, ain't nobody knew who he was. No one knew who he was when you fought him in the Legacy Arena over there in Birmingham, Alabama. Then he fought Arthur Spilka. Here's another guy. I had no idea who the hell Arthur Spilka was. I had to Google this guy. So I actually had to Google Deontay Wilder's first 3 opponents. Okay? No idea who Arthur Spilka was. You know what I'm saying? And then when I looked him up, I saw, oh shit, he got knocked out by Brian Jennings, and I watched that fight, and I saw how Brian Jennings just easily beat him, and I was like, all right, this is the bum that Deontay Wilder's defending his belt against, a guy that lost against Brian Jennings. Brian Jennings has never been a big puncher, yet Brian Jennings knocked him out. All right, then he fought Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola was like the first guy he fought that at least some Americans knew, right? But like I said, Chris Arreola was shot to bits. Then he fought Tavern. I already told you, Tavern is not a big fight, an international superstar like that. He don't got a massive fan base. You could say the same thing about Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz, people give Wilder credit for that, great. But when it comes to like worldwide appeal, Luis Ortiz was never a big star like that. And people don't know who Luis Ortiz is like that. Even Dillian White himself says nobody knows who Luis Ortiz is, which is true. Tyson Fury is known. But, he's not an American, and he's from the UK, and he came over to the United States to fight Deontay Wilder. And he had only fought one time in the United States against Steve Cunningham prior to that. So, you could say the same thing about Tyson Fury. He really isn't known in the US like that. Obviously, he has a big fan base, and he's known when it comes to hardcore boxing fans, and especially in the UK. But the casual boxing fan, they don't know who Tyson Fury is. Ain't no casual boxing fan who knows who Tyson Fury is, because again, he doesn't fight in the U.S. So, and don't even get me started with Deontay Wilder's first 30 fights. Ain't nobody knew who 80% of these guys were. So, Deontay Wilder's going around saying no one knows who Jarrell Miller is. But Jarrell Miller is as known as Tavern was. At the minimum. And And Anthony Joshua is definitely known more than Bermane Tavern, and he's definitely known more than Eric Molina, Johan Duhaupas, Artur Szpilka. Probably even Luis Ortiz. He's probably as known as Tyson Fury is. So, that's just Deontay Wilder being a hater. He wants this fight to fail. Like I said, regardless, whether this fight, do I think this fight's gonna do good in the U.S.? Not necessarily. But like I said, it really doesn't matter, because AJ could really fight anywhere he wants. He could really fight in the U.S. I mean, I still don't understand why he's fighting in the UK. I mean, in the U.S., considering the fact that he has such a big fan base in the UK. But because honestly, he could just stay there and fight there. But they want to make him like a international, I guess an international star. But anyway, guys, stuff to say. Thanks for watching, and hit that like and subscribe button.